Alright, good evening everybody. Sorry for another dark video, and sorry for not making a normal tish last night. I had a pretty bad headache, so I really wasn't in any condition to really say a really nice Dvar Torah or anything. At least we had something small in the car today on the lunch break, and now I'm on my way home. I left work a little early today, so I could go to shul, say Kaddish for my father, the yurt site, and also go to the Tish, to a real Tish, not a YouTube Tish with a fake Rebbe like the Koblenzer Rebbe, but a real Tish with a real Rebbe, Vishnitzer Rebbe from Kai Misha Lake. And I'm not a chassid of his by any means, but there's something so nice, especially a Vishnitzer Tish. They have very nice tunes, what we call nigunim, and it was just very, very pleasant, to be there. And the Rebbe, Zaitos via Rebbe, he looks like a Rebbe. He has a silver bekche and a kolpik, a nice kolpik, not like mine that I got off of eBay. And it was quite a pleasant, and I did wear my kolpik last night when I had my Suda, but I didn't make any video. I did listen to Rabbi Weinberger's show which is also his father's yard site, and that was very inspiring. And here we are. And I just wanted to share that it was so pleasant, and I was there, and I was having some kavanas and so forth. But one thing that came into my mind was, this is why I enjoy being Hasidish. Something like this, Hasidish Tish, gives you an experience that's unique in the Jewish world. And there are so many beautiful ways that Jews express themselves religiously in many different forms, and this is one of them. And there's no obligation to do this. There's no requirement to have a tish on Tu B'Shvat. Some even question, but in the end, it's something nice to do. It's a little bit fun. It's inspiring. It's spiritual, and uplifting. And with all of this, it's something nice. It gives us experiences, spiritually, akin to what some other religions experience in a certain way. But it's really an authentic Jewish approach, and I enjoy that. And I was watching. I'm going to be giving a lecture next week on Zoom for a library, and everybody's welcome to join. I'll give some information about that, if maybe post on the YouTube channel and some other places. But and I was doing some research about what I'm going to speak about, because it's a forum with many different talking about the different expressions of Judaism in Orange County, even though I reside in Sullivan County. But they picked on me because I speak English. And the truth of the matter is, superficially, yes, there are comparisons to other religions. And I came across a very nasty website where people were making all kinds of comments, making fun of a tish on Simchas Torah by Kloisenberger Rebbe in Borough Park. And there's a minig from Tzanz that the Rebbe throws apples, and eating apples, the old minig mentioned in many places on Simchas Torah. And apples are often distributed on all kinds of shuls on Simchas Torah. figs and apples both. They're part of the traditions of Simchas Torah. But in any event, there were so many people there just making fun, laughing, and this and that. And the thing is, the truth of the matter is, there's so many ways that people can express themselves Jewishly that are not rooted in anything holy. It's not just this issue with the Tu B'Shvat tikkunim that come from a questionable source, but then the secular approach, making it like an Arbor Day and planting trees. And I see even one Hasidic Rebbe whose father was from the Chalutzim, is the Admor Chalutz, and his son is planting trees on Tu B'Shvat. It's a little silly, but all right, it's not a sin to do that. There's nothing expressly wrong with it. But let's be a little silly. Rabbi Nachman says sometimes you need a little bit of shtus, a little bit of silliness just to get through life. And this, though, wasn't silly that I attended. To go to this tish, it was inspiring, and it was very serious and austere, but also somehow still the Hasidic community it's a very relaxed atmosphere. And it was beautiful. And I look forward to things like this. This once a year. And it was funny because last year they didn't have the tish here. I went over here for the tish, and the Rebbe was somewhere else, for Chasana, I think in Eretz Yisrael. So I didn't get to go to the tish, and it was disappointing. And 2 years ago, I went to the tish very briefly, and then I had to leave because my father had passed away. And again, I'm not a Vizhnitzer Chosid, but this is what we have here, And in Queens, I used to go. There's the Ulam Erov and the Himna Erov, and them I'm a shtickle more Chosid of them, to be honest, both of them. But I also go to Tish or Shalashud something to experience that type of spirituality. And there's something very special about this. There's something very heartwarming and inspiring about the Hasidic approach. And the same thing, I would go to Sephardi Mekubalim and see that, and I'd like to maybe go sometime to the Yekas and how they have all the Yotzers and so forth, and to go into a Litvish yeshiva and see the learning, in the Mir Yeshiva or in Panovich, just to walk in there, even just as a tourist, as a sightseer. It's inspiring. And to go to modern Orthodox also, and to see their approach. I mean, I know, Hasidim from Borough Park in Williamsburg, and then they'll come to Young Israel Shul because they have someone in the hospital nearby, and they'll come, and they'll be so inspired because, they sing a Yedid Nefesh before Kabbalah Shabbos. This is the minhag in the modern Orthodox shuls, and it's something different, and they enjoy that as well. And the plurality and the not plurality, the word I'm thinking is the diversity of our Orthodox Jewish communities, the Yemenite communities, all the different communities, Spanish and Portuguese, Sephardim, a different approach, and how very American they are, and how they celebrate American holidays in a religious manner. That inspires me very much as an American and as a Jew. And to experience all these different things, it's quite nice. it's I remember reading something about the things that are nice about being a Jew, and this was someone who was not I think they were Orthodox, I'm not sure. And it's interesting how they mentioned Chof Aleph Kislev. This was not a Satmar, a Chosid, and they mentioned how nice it is to go experience that once, or maybe more than once. A big tish, the annual dinner for the Satmar community, which anybody could just walk in, whereas usually a synagogue dinner, you have to pay for the plate and everything, and here you just walk in, and if you're paying a little more, you sit up front and you get a nicer meal, and if not, you'll still get something to eat and drink, some snacks, some cake, some soda, something, and you get to see something that you don't see every day, and it's nice, and it's interesting, and it's inspiring. And the same thing to go even to 770 on Yud Tes Kislev and see how they do that, the Lubavitchers, what they do. It's all nice. It's really nice. And I think, we have to start looking at the positive things that we all share and be able to celebrate our diversity while seeing that which we have in common. And then once we do that with our own community, we can expand that in a certain sense to other communities as well. I was listening to a podcast, two people that I know from the internet, never met in person, and they were talking, they had a conversation about Jewish-Islamic relations and interfaith dialogue. And one is he's a Yeka, he's not Hasidish, but he's a Edom by a son of a Hasidish Rebbe. And the other one is a Hasidish Yid, a Shtikla Breslover Chosid, and the two of them having a nice conversation about this. And the truth is, indeed, if we could sit down and talk to Muslims, we see how much we have in common, much more than we have that separates us, and there's no reason that we should be fighting. And all the fighting is over politics instead of over anything that really matters. One thing that was fascinating, that his name's Lee Weissman, I believe he's a college professor, he was a Hasidish Yid, he's a Beer and Pei, he's a Shtreimel, and he said something about how he was talking to a Muslim person, and they saw our liturgy after meals, the Birkas Hamazon, a bencher, and the grace after meals, and how it talks about the Holy Land and Jerusalem in our liturgy. And he said, wait a second, you mean Israel is your Holy Land? You mean Jerusalem is a holy city? Because every time I hear a lecture about Israel, it's all about how the Israelis invented the cell phone, and talking about shawarma and falafel and hatikva. I didn't know that. So he says, he asked the question. So he said, you mean to tell me that that in Israel, in the land of Israel, in the Holy Land, there are laws that only apply there, that don't apply anywhere else? And he said yes, and so there's things you can only do in the Holy Land, and things that you're not allowed to do in the Holy Land you could do other places. Yes. He said, oh, see, that I could relate to. That I can understand, because it's religion, right? And the other thing that he said is that when it comes to this interfaith dialogue, it often tends to be the less committed Jews and the less committed Muslims having this dialogue, instead of people who have much more in common, the religious people, the devoted people. So I thought that was interesting. Thank you for listening.
8 o'clock?
God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment. No, it's 7:15.